Greetings to all my tech heads out there in the KevTechify nation, and if you're new here, welcome. In this episode, we're going to be looking at protocols. We'll be discussing network protocols from an overview standpoint, network protocol functions, and then finally protocol interaction. This episode is part of my series on Introduction to Networks. I'm Kevin here at KevTechify. Let's get this adventure started. Now, as we look at these protocols, they can be implemented in software or hardware or in both. So whatever device you're on, they can implement it different ways. They can implement it as the hardware, your network card in your computer. You can implement it as software. That would be your Windows operating system and the drivers that go on, or it can be a combination of both. Protocols have their own function, format, and rules. Each protocol is a little bit different. That's why we have multiple protocols, because one person designed one protocol and said, hey, I need a protocol to do this. And so they design another protocol, or I need it to do it more efficiently. So let's go from IP version 4 to IP version 6. Looking at these. Now, there's about 4 different types of protocols we're going to talk about. We're going to look at network communication protocols, enabling our devices to communicate back and forth. We have some network security. How do we secure that data? How do we make sure that only the right people get the right information in the right time, that we see that? How do we get that information there? That's the routing protocols. To get the information from my computer to a web server all the way around the world, how do we get there? And so that's what the routing protocols. And then the service discovery. What services do they have available for us to do? As we look here, network protocols, they have some different functions. The devices, they use what they agree upon. And they start off talking a lot. One person says, hey, do you understand English? The other person says, no, I don't. Well, they wouldn't say that because they wouldn't be in English, but you get the understanding that, hey, do you speak English? The other person responds back, hey, yes, I do. So that way then they can converse in English at that point in time. And protocols may have one or multiple functions as we start looking at this. And so we look at this diagram. Person on the left, PC on the left, saying, I'll send this message across the network using IP version 4. Router that he's connected to says, hey, I can forward this message because I understand IP version 4 in the header information. And it travels through that network, and finally it gets to its destination where the end device says, hey, I can accept that message because I speak IP version 4. So I know that I'm the right address. I can understand that I am that right address. And so looking at all these different things, we have addressing. Well, how do we know what it is? It's like your house. We have a certain addressing scheme where you live. A house number, a street name, city, zip code, country. It's a standardized form on how we get there. Reliability guarantees that delivery, right? Do we want reliability or not? Sometimes it's optional. Sometimes what we send out doesn't need to have a guarantee, right? You mail a postcard while you're on vacation. You don't want to make sure it gets there. But you mail a payment in to pay off your loan. You want to make sure you get there. So you get some extra coverage from the post office to guarantee it makes it there. We have flow control, ensures that data flows at an efficient rate. Something that the sender can send out, something the receiver can hear. If it's too fast, the receiver is going to get overwhelmed, lose data. If it's too slow, that receiver is going to sit there and just waste time and expect more information, and it's just sitting there. Protocols do sequencing because we break our big messages up into smaller messages. Sometimes they arrive out of order. You put 10 letters in the post office, different mailboxes around town on the same day, there's a chance that some of them may arrive at different times. They definitely won't arrive in the same order. The post office won't put them in the right order, but there's a chance they could arrive out of order, and then you have to assemble it and put it together. We also have error detection. What if data becomes corrupt during transmission? How do we handle that? Protocols look into that. Application interface, process-to-process communications. My web browser is going to get a web response from the web server. It needs to be able to display that properly, so that application interface. Typically on a network, several protocols work together. They need several protocols to get that message across there. Each protocol has its own function, has its own format. Here, this example, we show you that to send a message across there, to get a web page, to get an email across the network, we use at least 4 different protocols: HTTP, TCP, IP, and Ethernet. HTTP, Hypertext Protocol, that gives us how the web client and the web server are communicating back and forth. What format is that web page being sent in? How is that data being sent? TCP manages the individual conversations on the network. It guarantees delivery. IP manages and looks at getting that information from the source to the destination. So actually getting it all the way through, it handles that. Ethernet handles from one network interface card to another one. So from your PC to your router to another router, to your ISP through their network. That is where Ethernet comes in. And all of those work together to do that. We do some encapsulation in packaging of our data with that. And then we have to de-encapsulate it as we go through there. It was my pleasure to provide you with this wonderful episode on protocols. If you like this episode and you got value out of it, and of course, depending upon what platform you're using, please click that like button, give a 5-star rating, leave a comment. This all helps me bring you more great content. Please take a minute to subscribe to my channel. All my socials and contact information are on my website, KevTechify.com, and you can get all of these episodes in video and podcast form. In the upper right is my playlist for my series on Introduction to Network. In the bottom right is one of my favorite videos that I linked just for you. Thank you so much for watching this episode on my series on Introduction to Networks. Once again, I'm Kevin. This is KevTechify. I'll see you next time for another great adventure.